Y'all ready to be history?
Get started.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
To the Pro Audio Suite.
These guys are professional. They're motivated.
Thanks to TriBooth, the best vocal booth for home or on-the-road voice recording. And Austrian Audio, making passion heard. Introducing Robert Marshall from Source Elements and Someone Audio Post, Chicago. Darren Robbo Robertson from Voodoo Radio Imaging, Sydney. Tech to the VO Stars, George the Tech Whittam from LA. And me, Andrew Peters, voiceover talent and home studio guy.
Line up, learner!
Here we go.
And welcome to another Pro Audio Suite. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a like and ring the bell. It certainly helps us with our analytics. Thanks to Austrian Audio, making passion heard, and TriBooth. Now, speaking of TriBooth, George, you've been playing around with trying to make your TriBooth, because you do offer processing if anyone buys a TriBooth. Don't forget the code TRIPAP 200 to get $200
Well played,
off your
sir.
TriBooth.
Well done, yes. You don't get paid enough, Andrew.
I don't get paid enough, but you offer a service of setting up sound-wise someone's TriBooth, and recently you've been playing around trying to match someone's U87 in their booth with a 41.6 in the TriBooth. How did you go?
I did. It worked out well enough where, I thought the two were not obviously identical, but much more close in EQ. And I sent it to the customer, my voice actor customer, and he was impressed with the way it sounded. And so now my goal is to not just have it be a post plugin that he has to load and then process and then, send on a file, but actually have it print that way. So using an EQ, a multi-band parametric EQ in his Apollo system, he's using an Apollo, so he can print that EQ live, real time, And so that's going to be the final step. I need to set that up for him. But I looked at ways to automate this using modern tools, using Match EQ plugins and different things. And the little bit of experimenting and the research I did, it just looked like it was never going to nail it. And at the end, it just came down to old-fashioned listening, tweaking, listening, comparing back and forth. I probably spent 20 to 30 minutes trying to get them as lined up as close as I could. I couldn't find an easy way to do it.
It's not an easy thing. I mean, it's like I struggle with it especially with like when they pick up dialogue lines from stuff that's been shot on set and all that sort of stuff. That's difficult, ADR, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Matching that stuff up to what's on location is always an issue too, especially if they sort of, they just grab them, they just book the talent to come back into a studio somewhere and record the line and then throw it at you and say, hey, can you put this into the spot? Or whatever. It's always one of those interesting ones is trying to match that up.
It's interesting when if you're using a 41.6, because even if you're in the same booth, same mic, doing the same read, there's always a chance it's not going to sound the same, because those things, the proximity is always an issue with a 41.6. And I've done stuff where I've had to pick up, even just like coming in, editing, and made a mistake, go back in, pick up that line, cut it in, and it's like, man, it just sounds different. And that's the same day.
Well, your voice changes daily too. I mean, when your voice is tired at the end of the day, it sounds different at the beginning of the day. I mean, you sound different today than you did last time we recorded a podcast because you got a sore throat at the moment. It's like
and a cold,
So so try matching that up. It's one of those constant sort of battles. And it's always interesting when they come back to pick up, they pick up a campaign they did last year, a TV campaign, and they just want to re-tag it or they want to just drop a new line in, and they get the talent back and all that sort of stuff. And it's the stuff that we do behind the scenes that never gets mentioned to them. I don't turn around and go, well, I spend ages matching that up. But, it's the stuff that just has to happen, and you just have to make it happen, because you know that if you don't, it's going to come back and they're going to go, it sounds different.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So, you just got to do it.
I was actually listening to an interview just the other day, and someone was talking about mic placement and stuff like that, and someone said, just whack some EQ on that to make it sound blah, blah, blah. And the engineer's gone, hang on, before you start putting EQ on this, try moving the microphone first.
That's right. Let's get it right first. Exactly. Yeah. Get it as close as you can first, and then, but it's the same as, it's the same as we talk about with noise reduction and de-reverb and all that sort of stuff. Get it right first and then use that stuff. Don't sort of just rely on that doing the job.
I mean, all that stuff is basically for a disaster.
it's interesting when they turn around, and it's not their money, but, it's like a, $200,000 TV campaign or something, or $1 million TV campaign, and the director's there going, oh, well, just slap some EQ on it. It's like, well, hang on. It's not your money, mate. Seriously, let's do it properly.
I hate it when I watch localized dub, because in the States, Netflix is spending a lot less money shooting shows and a lot more money licensing shows, to the point where I think they've closed an entire, maybe it was Amazon, one of these big companies closed a studio completely. Oh, actually, no. Paramount just closed. Oh, they just announced the closing of Paramount Studios in Hollywood.
What, so they're not shooting anything anymore?
They're just not shooting enough content. It's just not worth it. They're like, we've got enough studios, and so they're going to shoot everything at the Sony or some other studio complex, because they don't need it, which is sad.
Yeah.
But that's the real reality. But the localization, the thing that bugs me about it, and I know my partner could care less. She just wants to hear the dialogue. But for me, the localization typically is recorded too dry and too close. So they're doing all the localization in a booth with a U87, at 6 to 10 inches away from the mic. And the original dialogue sounds a little bit more authentic, or it was done with a shotgun and or a lav, and it just doesn't sound the same, doesn't sound as authentic. Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes, there's extra care put into it. They probably use some ambience plug-in or something to try to match the room. And there are what is it called? Convolution reverbs or something, where you can...
Convolution reverbs.
Yeah, you can get the reverb of a space and then apply...
Waves have a great one.
Yeah, that's really cool technology. But, a lot of times that's going to get kind of lost because someone either doesn't know how, doesn't care, and, it just needs to get done.
It's funny with a lot of YouTube channels, you'll hear that where they're on location or something, and they'll be talking like here kind of thing, blah, 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 blah. And then they cut to do a voiceover and it's all like, and blah, blah, blah. And it's so...
jarring.
It's really jarring. Yeah.
There's a podcast I listen to, they're mountain bikers. And, you don't expect great production value, right? But they've gotten better. And there's one little funny thing where they do a fake commercial during the podcast, because it's their own... The podcast is supported by their bike shop. So they're the sponsor, right? They're called Worldwide Cyclery. And they always do this thing. And so they always have a little thing where the guy goes, and now time for a commercial break. And now back to the show. And he always says it the same way, and it's normalized. So it's like, it's so much louder than them sitting around the booth or their office, recording the content. It's just, but it's become like this. To me, I laugh to myself, because I'm like, I don't think at this point I don't think they're doing it out of ignorance. I think now they realize it's just goofy. It's just tongue in cheek.
Yeah. It's become the shtick.
Well, it certainly wakes you up. Yeah. If you've lost a bit of interest in it and you've mentally wandered off somewhere, it certainly brings you back to center, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now, talking about U87s, this came up yesterday in a session, and the engineer I was working with, he just doesn't like them at all, hates the sound of them, and if he can avoid anyone using a U87, he will, which is kind of ironic in the sense that the U87, like the 41.6, is basically industry standard, I guess. But how do you find U87s?
In a shop.
Not any old shop.
In a wooden box on the shelf.
That's right, exactly.
A lot of my clients' studios, to be honest. I have a lot of clients that have both, and unless they're really genre switching a lot, where they're doing an animation and they're doing a commercial and maybe doing a promo, I have a few clients who are super versatile and they really do cover all these different genres. A handful of them really do switch between their 41.6 and their 103. They're 10.3. Is that what it's called now?
10.3. Yeah.
I suppose 10.4, good buddy.
Yeah, 10.3, big buddy. Yep.
Little buddy.
Yep. They do switch between them relatively actively. But many others, once they just got the sound that they want out of their 41.6, that the U87 collects dust or it goes on a shelf, because it's just... the 41.6 sound is just so familiar to a voice a commercial voice or a promo voice, that the U87 sounds foreign, even though it may sound nice and it may sound more detailed and it might be more accurate. It's not really what we're going for in the end. So it's just a little bit more work. Like he said, I don't like the U87. It's probably more work for him to get the sound out of that mic that he wants to get.
Yeah, he's got to EQ the crap out of it to get back to where he wants it. But it's like, I think two things. I think here in Australia, I think large diaphragm, I don't know that U87 would even be the industry standard. I think the 103 would probably be in more home studios.
For sure.
Talking about voiceover artists. And secondly, I would also argue that I think the industry standard in general is just the 416. I don't know that, unless you sort of say to someone, hey, have you got a 103 for whatever reason? I don't know why you would. I've never had to. But unless you ask, most people are going to open up the session or jump onto the session with their 416 or 416.
Yeah, I've found, I do find that Melbourne and Sydney are quite different. When I first came down to Melbourne, I would see a lot of 87s. And then they would have the 416 as well if they're doing promos and stuff.
But is that home studios or are you talking studios?
I'm talking about professional studios, commercial studios, yeah.
Yeah. I think professional studios definitely probably the U87. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about home studios. That's the vibe I get.
So funny you said that. We have a similar thing in the States, which is U87 is the New York mic and 416 is the LA mic.
Yeah, right. Well, there you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. I was going to say the same thing because the first time I went to the States, I went to New York first and it was U87s. And then the next stop was LA, and I had to go and do a job, actually. So I went to LA Sound, and it was 416. And in fact, it was pretty well 416s everywhere in LA. So it is quite different, and it's like Melbourne and Sydney. I always say that Sydney is more like LA, and Melbourne's more like New York.
So funny. I love those similarities between different countries and how production, how do certain mics become the it mic? How does this, this momentum of a certain sound, where does it get established? Like, I would love to do a story about the 416 and where it came from and why it became the mic that it is. And Ernie Anderson. If you guys don't know who Ernie Anderson is, go to YouTube and type in Ernie Anderson ABC.
Isn't he the dude that first grabbed a 416 and shoved it up as a? Is that him? Is that the guy I'm thinking of?
The legend has it was he didn't like being in the ISO booth all day, because the 70s and probably 70s and earlier, a lot of that promo was done live. And so he would, would just have to sit in that damn ISO booth waiting for the next break, and he was bored and he was watching everybody behind the glass and they're all shooting the shit behind the glass. And he's like,
I want to be a part of that.
He fucking hated it, and I think, some people are like, he hated people talking shit behind his back. Well, I don't know. I don't know how true that is, but he could be a son of a bitch. He was rough. Gruff, let people have it here and there, and there's some such good outtakes on YouTube and elsewhere of Ernie stuff. But that microphone was chosen because they needed some way to get a clean dialogue track in a machine room, and those studios were pretty noisy. They were full of machinery like mechanical tape machines, U-matic decks, and fans and all this crap. That's what they had handy. So it's just like, you'll see a few clips of him. It's just the mic is on like a flexible gooseneck arm that's mounted to the console. Maybe that was for the talkback. I don't even know. And then he's just right off the side of the board with the mic pointing at the corner of his mouth, and he's reading the script right next to the board. Man, that's became a sound, And I would imagine it had to be a bit of a departure from the sound that they had established prior to that. In a booth, beautifully tuned room, Probably this is why it'd be fun to research. I'd be curious to see what did they do before the 41.6 or the 41.5. It might have been the 415 at that time. What did they use before that? What was on him in the booth? Was he on a ribbon mic? Was he on a U87? That would be fun to see. But there's just absolutely no doubt that 41.6 on his voice became so iconic that it just was like, oh, well, we better throw that up on Don. And we better throw one up on Hal Douglas, and better throw one up on that old guy Andrew Peters, and
we'll just throw up on him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it created a sound. It's the history of that mic. It's fascinating. And you were saying how that one engineer hates the U87. There's a guy who's still in the business today, does tons of Disney voice work, named Corey Burton. And Corey had a whole blog post about his hatred of the 41.6.
I've seen it. I've read that article.
I think he's taken it down long by now. But it was a hell of a rant, But this is a man who was doing Disney, and Disney didn't use shotgun. They didn't use condensers. They used ribbon. They used RCA. I think it was a K4U or K5U, something like that. It was a very unique supercardioid ribbon mic, that they used on a boom, And so he would carry that thing around. It's like, this is the sound. I'm doing Disney. This is the mic they use. And he would carry that sucker around, $5,000 mic in a case, and bring it to studios.
Wow.
So
Wow.
he was that hardcore about, that's the sound. That is the sound that my voice identifies with, because I'm doing a genre, and that genre is Disney animation. That's the level of
So is that his
purism
reason for the hatred then, with the fact that it was the 416 was so sharp and edgy? Is that, or was it just...
Yeah, to him it was such a heinous mic because it lacked all the things that he loved about the other mic.
Okay.
So, it's one man's opinion, and he's a very smart guy and very well respected in circles here in Hollywood and voiceover. But, that was his opinion because it didn't work for his voice and his type of work. So, as we have a blog, we have a podcast, we're here to share what we think about things, and he was sharing what he had to think about. Did it apply to most voiceover? Probably not. Did it apply to most people to go get a $5,000 vintage ribbon microphone? Probably not.
Imagine EQing a ribbon mic to work on a TV commercial, though, these days, or radio imaging. Seriously. It'd be like...
Yeah, you'd have to spice it up quite a bit.
You would. You'd have to work hard, baby.
Yeah.
You would. But I've been watching podcasters, and some of them are the geeks like Mike Delgadio from the
Booth Junkie.
From his the Booth Junkie. Watch him lately. He has been using a mic outside the booth for when he does interviews and stuff, and he doesn't want to be in the booth. He's using a ribbon broadcast mic.
Right. Okay.
It's an interesting microphone. He's using an AEA microphone. I don't know if you guys know who AEA is, but
yeah.
This is Wes Dooley, who was one of the engineers that was responsible for tuning and repairing RCA microphones. Yep. And he eventually went on to do his own thing and start his own company and make his own mics. And he's got a really interesting ribbon mic that looks not exactly, but looks way more like a broadcaster's microphone. It's called the KU5A. And it's totally broadcast style. It's end address. Doesn't look like any ribbon mic you've probably seen before. And it's a supercardioid ribbon mic. It's not a bidirectional, figure eight like most ribbon mics are.
Yeah.
So, and it's a great sounding mic. It's $1,500.
Yeah.
So it should be. But it's a really nice sounding mic, and it has, of course, built-in active. It has an active circuit. It has that booster built in.
Wow.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So talk about ribbon mics. Talk about mics that come out from a totally different category that may end up sounding really amazing, but one of us has to just get one to tell you whether this is one of those mics. I don't know when I'll have the opportunity to get my hands on one to demo, but unless I physically go to Wes's place in Glendale,
I'll be
Again.
interested to. I'd be interested to put the question out there to our voiceover artists with home studios who are listening, and say, who's going to be the first person brave enough to jump onto a session with a ribbon mic?
There's going to be two people in there like, I already used one.
There probably will be, I suppose.
exactly.
But it's an interesting question, isn't it?
Ribbon mics are really well respected for being accurate.
Yeah,
and that's
I get
what's
that.
funny is we certainly like think of them as a very warm, very vintage sound, sort of a veiled top end, but they're respected for their incredible accuracy because the ribbon is so fast. It's so responsive. And you can EQ to make them sound beautiful.
But the interesting thing is, the reason we're talking about a 416 being an industry standard is because of its inaccuracies.
Yeah.
Yes, that is true. That is true. It's inaccurate in all the
That's
right
right.
ways.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's just inaccurate enough. Probably is the best way to put it. It's but and that's the interesting thing though, is absolutely, ribbon mics, sound great, as you say, and completely natural, but it's not what I want.
But that sound is coming up on 50 years old, right?
Yeah.
That shotgun condenser, I don't know when the 41.5 came out, but that sound has been around since the 70s.
I'm sure.
So we're probably due for
Time
a new
for a
sound.
revolution, you reckon, George?
Might be a time for a revolution. I think Andrew's going to do it.
What am I going to be revolting with?
It could be what you're on right now.
Yeah. Well, I think I finally found the perfect mic for me, and that's the 818, we'll call it, the OC 818.
Well, mine hasn't shifted from my desk since I got it either, I'll be honest. And I'm not a voiceover artist, but I do like it.
Yeah, I mean, when I got the mic I'm on now, this is the OC707. The first thing I did was EQ it to make it sound more like the 818. Right? Because I was like, because I had already had the 818, and I was like, what, 818? I already had the 818, and it sounded so good. And when this OC777 came, talk about confusing naming there. It's not a 77. When the 707 came, I was like, ooh, the EQ character is unique. Let's be nice about it. It's unique. It is not my cup of tea. So I EQ'd it with my Rodecaster to tame its mid-range kind of bump that it had, and smoothed it out and gave it a little bit of top end. And now I'm pretty happy with it. And that's what I talk on most of the day, is the 707 now. But I'll swing the 818 in, and I will use it in conjunction with the Apollo now. That's my chain. That's like my ultra hi-fi rig, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or the tweaky one where I can tweak it a lot and have a lot of fun. It's the fantasy rack of gear that Andrew has been using for years, just in a virtual
But the
form.
707 must be handy, mate, when you want to, take it off its mic stand and handhold it and break into a bit of Madonna or Pet Shop Boys or something. It's like, that must be handy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a darn good sounding condenser, and it's a really cool looking handheld condenser mic too. I mean, I don't know how much that matters, but I think to some pop artists it definitely matters. I mean, some of them cover the damn things in the rhinestones,
in sequins or something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you know, the funny thing is, talking of that, when you walk into, we used to all walk into commercial studios, you always look at the mic that's in front of you, and sometimes you just sort of go, that's a bit insulting.
Well, speak for yourself. I haven't had that opportunity enough to, but I imagine you do.
Yeah.
What? I don't know if we could say, I don't even know. I would love for you to name a mic that you saw in front of you, and you're like, oh,
yeah, don't name the studio, name the mic. Go on.
It's difficult. Well, there was
one M58.
No, there was actually talking of that, there was the, what's the long-barreled, it's a dynamic mic.
Sennheiser?
A lot of podcasters use it.
RE20.
The RE20.
The gray mic with the huge suspension.
I won't tell you where I was, but it was a TV series that I was voicing, and the first day I got in the booth, I saw it and went, I'm not using that. What else have you got?
I'm sorry. I'm past that microphone.
And do you know what they replaced it with?
SM7B.
No. They had a U89.
Oh, wow, there you go.
I don't know if I've ever heard one. Is that kind of like a. Do they make that mic anymore? Is that discontinued?
I don't know. It looks like a U87, but it was dark color, so it was like a dark gray blue.
Yeah,
I think.
Here's one. Yeah, I'm looking at one now. It looks like it's still in production. Yeah, it's about the same price. It's got multi-pattern.
About the same price as a U87? Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I mean, yeah. About the same price as a U87. Huh, how fascinating. It must be voiced differently.
It was slightly different because what ended up happening, I didn't really like it that much either. So I ended up taking in my own mic, and I just used I stuck in the M930, the Microtech Gefell.
From what I'm seeing is the U87, the U89, it literally looks like it was intended to be like the hi-fi U87.
Okay.
Yeah.
More top-end response, more sheen, also more patterns. It's got 5 pickup patterns instead of the U87.
Oh, wow, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Yeah. It could theoretically be a better voiceover mic than an 87.
I guess with that.
But it never caught traction because the U87 kind of got ahead of it.
Didn't it? Yeah, exactly.
Everybody already blew their wad on those $3,000 87s.
I'm not buying a fucking another one. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, they're like, I already got one of those. We're not talking about the Ocean Ways of the world, where they have 6 of everything.
So listen, Andrew, talking about walking into different studios, and you can probably answer this better than me, but something I noticed in my 10 years of freelance audio, walking in and out of different studios, is the condition of pop filters that people shove in front of voiceover. Some of those skanky, stinky, falling apart pieces of shit that you'd look at and you go, you touch that and it's going to fall apart. I was constantly surprised that, $20 or $30 for a new pop filter just wasn't occurring to anybody that maybe that's something we should look at.
Well, the interesting thing is that particularly because I didn't do like voiceovers for a living in Sydney. It was when I moved to Melbourne. And that's 27 years ago, I rarely saw a pop filter.
Oh, well, there you go.
Because the engineers would come and place the mic properly, so you didn't need one.
No, I always put a pop filter on anyway, I'll be honest. It didn't matter what I was doing. I always had one on there.
Wow, those are brave engineers. They really trust the talent.
Yeah, and that was the thing, it's like, it just saves that, perfect take that gets spoiled.
The ones that did do it, they'd set the mic up like this, and it's like, you want me to read what, the pop filter, or can I actually, will you let me read the script?
I know. Those are the ones that are clearly music recording engineers. They're used to having a rapper or singer or a pop singer in front of their precious microphone. They don't want them to spit on it, touch it, get anywhere damn near close to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole different animal than a trained voice actor, that knows how to use a microphone correctly. I'm looking at the specs comparison because Neumann has compare feature. So each mic you load, you click compare this mic, and then you go to another mic, compare, and then it shows them all in columns. So you can, so the 89 is a high SPL circuit as well. So it can handle way more input.
So it's going to handle someone belting into it.
Yeah, it can handle close proximity. The 87 only can handle 127, which is a lot, but not something you're going to put in front of a kick. The U89 can handle 140.
Yeah.
The U89 is also nowhere near as sensitive. Or is it? How does that work? Sensitivity is measured in microvolts per Pascal.
Wow.
Well, without Robert here, somebody had to send us into a rat hole.
Yeah, I know. Someone needs to geek out. Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that was fun. Is it over?
The Pro Audio Suite, with thanks to TriBooth and Austrian Audio, recorded using Source Connect, edited by Andrew Peters and mixed by Voodoo Radio Imaging with tech support from George the Tech Whittam. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and join in the conversation on our Facebook group. To leave a comment, suggest a topic, or just say g'day, drop us a note at our website, theproaudiosuite.com.